In this video, I'm breaking down what persistence actually means, what detachment is, and how to do both at the same time to manifest your desires a lot quicker. So, first, let's talk about what people think persistence means, because I think this is where most of the confusion starts. A lot of people think that persistence means that you are affirming consistently, you're visualizing constantly, you're scripting nonstop. Maybe you're even like robotically affirming all throughout the day, just doing technique after technique after technique. And listen, I am not anti technique. I think techniques are incredibly helpful, but I also think people misunderstand why they're helpful because techniques are not there to force manifestation. They are there to help you experience that state. That is the distinction, and it matters so much, y'all, because if you believe that you must do this thing to get something, then naturally you are literally acting from the state of someone who doesn't have it and is trying to get your desire. And suddenly manifestation becomes work and it takes a lot longer because now you're trying to make something happen, which again means that you are identifying with the version of yourself that does not currently have it. And from Neville Goddard's perspective, manifestation is not about forcing, it's about becoming. So you're becoming the person who this thing already feels natural to. So then, what is persistence? Persistence is not just repeating the desire, persistence is returning to the state. I'm going to say that again. Persistence is not repeating the desire, persistence is returning to the state. That means you're returning to the version of yourself who already has what you want, what you desire. That's it. Persistence is identity work. It is continuing to choose the new story, even when the old story tries to pull you back in. And this is the question I personally think is incredibly helpful. I've used it all throughout my manifestation journey. And that is, what would the version of me who already has insert desire XYZ think, do, or make this circumstance mean? And that made manifestation so much easier for me because it pulls you back into this state or reminds you of who you are and the state that you are occupying. So now you're starting to embody all throughout the day. So let's use an example. Let's say that you are manifesting a job. You interviewed for something you thought you really wanted, and then you get rejected. The old story might say, damn it, I was rejected. It didn't work. No, my visualization didn't work out for me. Manifestation isn't working. What's going on? That is the old identity talking. That's the old state. But the new version of you already has the career. So that version who already sees themselves as successful, they're looking at this and they're thinking, okay, perhaps this wasn't the right job. There's a better one out there. Something better is unfolding. Or maybe even, hey, you know what? This changes nothing. They're going to circle back because I already got the job. Same event, same circumstance, different states and different meanings that you're attaching to 3D circumstances. So persisting is continuing in that version of yourself, not because you're pretending, not because you're delusional, but because that identity is the one that you're choosing to embody. And this applies to literally everything: money, relationships, career, confidence, your body image, whatever it is. Persistence is literally asking, what would the version of me who already has this thing think right now? How would they react? What assumptions would they hold? How would they interpret this? Because the person who already has the desire does not react the same way that the old version reacts. Let's talk about detachment. I created a whole video about this, which I'm going to attach somewhere up here right now. But to summarize, I think people hear the word detach and they assume that it means forgetting the desire, pretending not to care, forcing yourself not to think about it, or just acting like emotionally numb so that you'll stop wanting it or something. But detachment is so much more simpler than people make it. Detachment is just detaching from the old story. That's the old reactions, the old assumptions, the old identity, the old meaning. That's the real detachment. You're not detaching from the desire. You are detaching from the version of you who keeps recreating the same reality. And this is where detachment naturally starts happening. because you stop feeding the old assumptions. You stop rehearsing the old story. You stop emotionally identifying with the old version of yourself. And little by little, the old state starts losing momentum. The goal is not perfection. The goal is to make it so that our dominant thoughts, not all of them, but majority of them, reflects our new beliefs or the new story. Truly, manifestation, law of assumption, is not just about what you occasionally think, it's about what becomes dominant. So what feels normal to you, what feels true, and the fastest way to shift into that new story is to start asking yourself, how would the version of me who already has this thing experience this moment? So let's say you're applying for an apartment. Same thing goes here. Maybe you even get a rejection. The old person or the old version of you may be thinking, oh my God, I thought I manifested this. It's not working. Manifestation isn't working for me. I didn't get the apartment that I wanted. I can't believe this. The new version of you that already has their dream apartment is not reacting to the 3D. You're either thinking, one, this is just a shadow from old thoughts from the old version of myself. I'm not going to react to this and rehash it. Everything is working out for me. I believe that, period. Or you're thinking to yourself, you know what? Perhaps this just means that there is something better out there. There's a better apartment that better fits the things that I want. So I'm going to keep hope alive. You're not looking at the circumstance as something negative. And true story, when I was manifesting my dream apartment, this happened to me as well. There was another building that I really wanted to move into and, declaring that this was mine and that I was going to live there. And I thought that that was like the end all be all. Let me tell you, that didn't work out, but I was so grateful that it did not, because that led me to my actual dream apartment. And the place that I ended up living in was so much better. I mean, the area was better. It was a corner apartment with floor to ceiling windows. I wouldn't have gotten that in the old space. So if I had succumbed to the old story of, man, this isn't working out, I can't believe I didn't get this, maybe I should just continue living wherever I'm living at this point in time, I probably wouldn't have been open to the apartment that I actually manifested that I love. So persisting is simply returning to the new story again and again and again and again and again. And the more you persist in the new story, the more you detach naturally from the old one. You don't have to force detachment. You don't have to pretend not to care. You don't have to stop wanting your desire, because detachment becomes natural, because attention reinforces identity. Wherever your attention goes, that is where energy flows. So when you remove your energy from something, you stop recreating it. The story you keep returning to becomes a story that feels true and natural. So when you continue returning to, I'm chosen, everything works out for me, I'm successful, things are always working behind the scenes, I'm already the person who has it all, eventually that old story will lose momentum. The old reactions feel less believable, less emotionally relevant, less true. You stop panicking as quickly. You stop assigning like catastrophic or negative meanings to things. You stop reacting from the old version of yourself, not because you are forcing it, but because the new story starts feeling more normal. I think that is why manifestation starts feeling faster for people, not because time magically speeds up, but because resistance starts to slow down. So you stop constantly restarting the old story. You stop pulling yourself back into fear, or rejection, or, whatever it is. You just stop reacting to circumstances like it means failure. So there's one thing I want you to take away from this video. It is this: persisting and detaching are not opposites. In fact, persisting in the new story is detaching from the old one. It is returning to the version of you who already has the desire. And detachment is letting go of the old reactions, the old assumptions, the old stories, the old meaning, the old identity, period. So the next time something you don't quite like happened in the 3D, I need you to pause and then ask yourself, what would the version of me who already has this think, do, assume, or make this mean? Because that question alone can completely shift the way that you manifest and also speed things up. So let me know in the comments what you think about this. And if you want more videos on Neville Goddard, manifestation, self-concept, law of assumption, and just creating your dream life, definitely subscribe, like this video, and I will see you in the next one.